First thing, we've got a new chip, or a new kind of line of chips, I guess, is what this will end up being.
Yeah,
I'm calling it Mendocino.
Wow.
What did you say earlier?
It's like limoncello. Oh, Andy Mineo.
Andy Mineo.
Yeah, there you go.
AMD Mineo.
Yeah, I don't know what the actual name of these will be like when they come out, but Mendocino or Mendocino, whatever.
Yeah.
They announced them apparently at Computex, which I didn't pay attention to that. I don't generally pay attention to processor announcements, like just general ones.
Yeah, and Computex has always been kind of a bust for us. There's been times where we've stayed up late and like tried to cover, and it's like there's never anything there that's really.
There was one Chromebook one time that was there. I remember somebody sending me an email or something.
Was the R13 Computex?
No, that was the one they announced.
That was in Taipei.
No, that was Berlin.
Oh, IFA. That's
September. But yeah, I mean, Computex is a pretty nerdy trade show. Like it's
not in our consumer lane.
Yeah, a little more technical a lot of times. Anyway, they announced this new APU, which is their language for their system on a chip, their SoC, their CPU, whatever you want to call it. And doing a little bit of research today, because I came across it in the repositories first. There's only 2 commits for it just in the last few days. They're adding, a reference board for Mendocino or Mendocino or whatever.
It's probably Mendocino. Mendocino.
You got me on Mendocino.
I like Mendocino.
I'm not saying it like that.
Mendocino. Hey, Mendocino.
But yeah, their 2 commits just adding the reference board, and so I was like, what is this? AMD, so I searched it and then found out that they actually announced this thing straight up at Computex, and we've already got Chromebooks being developed with it. But the idea behind it is kind of more of a mid-range device, something they're not trying to say that this is the next latest greatest chip that they have, but it's also battery conscious. So they're saying estimated 10 plus hours of battery life. And what was their other claim? They put dollar amounts on the thing, like $369 or I don't know. They gave us some random number, like mid-range prices, and they just said laptops. Obviously, it's not just a Chromebook processor.
Which it looks like they're doing what they did with the 3000. The mainstream AMD 4000 has been out since 2020, so I'm guessing that they have just kind of tweaked this the way they did with the 3000, because the 3000 had been out. It was pretty old hat by the time it came out on Chrome OS, but they made them just for Chromebooks. They put a little C at the end or whatever.
And I don't know that they'll have a special version of this with a C on the end. They've done that with their other ones. So like even the Ryzen 5000 series or a Chromebook chip. So it could be.
Do you think they actually tweak the chip to make sure that it's optimized for Chrome OS, or is it more of a branding thing?
Probably not. It's probably branding.
I mean, there might be some firmware stuff for the TPM and all that, but it's probably
the hardware's not changing,
because they announced back in March a new budget-friendly version of the 4000 series. It's like the 4000G. This is probably just the Chromebook version of that.
Well, I mean, this Mendocino thing is for laptops, so it'll be Windows and stuff too.
Oh, okay.
So it's not. This was not a Chromebook specific announcement. The fact that I found that it's going to work on Chromebooks is the kind of the news part of our stuff.
Gotcha.
They announced it just at laptops. They actually had a Lenovo, and that picture that's in the. Can you pull that article up? The photo that's in there. There's a Lenovo
IdeaPad 1.
Yeah, they've got a Lenovo, computer there, obviously, that's running, but it's a Windows device, and so. It's a laptop chip, but the big thing they're trying to do here is it's fanless, it's got long battery life, and it's got good enough performance. That's their kind of where they're going. So think, the higher end of Intel's small core or ARM powered devices. And so for Chromebooks, the real story is, we've started to get to this point where like your mid-range Chromebooks that are better, that are more fun to use and more interesting are ARM powered ones.
Right.
Like, I can't remember the last time I picked up a small core Intel powered Chromebook and thought, wow, I like this. We haven't had any new ones. Like they're mostly like education, big bulky kind of, devices. And so, your detachables and tablets are all showing up with ARM inside, and whether it's Snapdragon or it's, the MediaTek Companion 828 or 820 or the 1380, we just released the review of the Spin 513. They're all getting wild battery life, and the performance on all of them is good enough to get you through.
Right.
And so, like that is a sweet spot for a $300 to $600 Chromebook that clearly is what this is going after. This whole
because that's the
AMD
thing with Intel. Ever since the Gemini Lake refresh and then on to Jasper Lake, it's like you expect decent performance. Like most N4020s or whatever you pick up, you're like, I know this Chromebook's going to be fine for what most kids and basic people, not basic people, I didn't mean that. What basic tasks people are doing. I recommended the Lenovo 3 to somebody the other day. They're like, I need one for my kid. I'm like, it's $79. It's going to be fine. It's not going to lag. But like you said, there's nothing awe-inspiring about the actual devices themselves.
No.
Most of them are clunky
generic.
and generic. You're going to expect some chunky bezels, and they're plastic, and it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, and so like the interesting ones are ARM. It seems like right now, like every Chromebook or high-end Intel, and there's some AMD, the 5000, the Ryzen 5000 ones that are coming that we've had some hands-on with that are fast, but they're going to have fans, and it's going to be the same thing as you see with the high-end Intel ones, where I don't know, there's just part of me that's getting to the point where Chromebooks without fans are something that I kind of like. I just because it usually also means that battery life is going to be really impressive too.
Yep.
And whereas I felt like fourth gen Intel, I'll never forget this. It was crap. What is the name of that? I just remember it's fourth gen. It was before Broadwell.
Oh, Haswell.
Yeah. It was this huge breakthrough with Chromebooks. It was what the HP Chromebook 14 had in it. And it was this thing where we went from having like 2 hours or 3 hours on a charge on a laptop to getting like 6 and 7 hours. It was this big step forward in battery life. And ever since then, you expect like every year the battery life's just going to be better. And what happens is the performance keeps going up. And so the battery life is better for performance, but it really relative. Isn't. Yeah, it's not better. Yeah. Like it's the same.
It's not a direct correlation.
Like I'm working through the review on the HP Dragonfly, and I would say once I'll run my normal test and see where I actually get, but I'm guessing based on having used it at home over a weekend, it's 6 or 7 hours.
6 or 7, yeah.
And honestly, for most people, for a work day, that's fine. Yeah. Because you can be on a charger a little bit here and there. You take it off, you get through your day and get done. But if you're in a spot where you had to keep the brightness cranked up and you were on a few calls or whatever, that thing's not going to make it through the day.
And that's the thing is if you're doing something,
powerful,
you're doing something that requires heavy lifting and you need those fan devices, you're probably going to be tethered anyway.
Most likely. Yeah.
You're not running major Linux apps or doing gaming like Steam gaming and not plugged in. So you might as well go with something that doesn't have fans and is getting better battery life.
Yeah, it just depends. Like to me, it's an interesting segment to be in. It's nice to see Chromebooks without fans. Yeah, they're thinner, they're lighter, and they're a little more attractive. They don't make any noise. Like
you could use my Chromebook for a day, and then you'd love yours. Mine was off charge for 5 minutes and died. 5 minutes.
Canary
life.
Yeah. And the HP isn't bad, and most newer Chromebooks aren't bad. The fans are not loud. It's not like, oh, that's so terrible, I can't stand that. But if you don't need them, it's kind of nice not to have to deal with them.
Do you think that Intel has just decided their kind of market, their segment? They're like, we're just, they were in one detachable. The HP, wasn't it an Intel?
Yeah, that was
like the only one, right?
Yeah,
they're just like, hey, our chips, like we're not
good for this.
That's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna let all these ARM chips kind of do that, and we're going to focus on the more powerful Chromebooks, and we're going to let our chips kind of shine there.
They don't do Y series anymore, but they still do the mobile chips, but they do not market them to like premium lower end laptops.
And it's crazy, like that Asus, the CX5400 has one of those types of chips. It doesn't need fans,
and it's great.
It's a great, it's still fast. It's not as fast as the fanned ones and all that kind of stuff, but. Again, that's the difference in putting it in a metal chassis and then putting it behind a display in a tablet. That's a lot. The Slayton has an M3 in it. It's an Intel.
That's right.
But like we've seen some of those fanless ones in slender devices. The Samsung Galaxy Chromebook is a perfect example. It just overheats and destroys the battery, and you lose performance, and it's just. Intel just isn't built for that, and I think that's where this AMD, this line of chips is. That's kind of where they're pointed, because Tom's guide pointed out like the cores they're using in it. So it's Zen 2 architecture with RDNA 4 graphics, which is pretty close to the 4000 series AMD. I don't know a lot about AMD's chips, but I know how Chromebooks performed with the 3000 series. really good when they're on charge. It was like 45,000 octane. They did drop down to like 25,000 whenever they were off charge.
Yeah.
We've written about that. But that performance was good enough to, it wasn't like it was a handicap, to that Chromebook. And then you've got the 5000 series that are competing, I think, directly with like 11th gen Core i processors from Intel. So super fast, tons of processing power. So if the 4000 sits between those two, and I get 10 hours of battery life off something that has a performance bump over the last generation of AMD processors and doesn't die whenever I take it off a charge, that could be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be the first, and I put this in the article, like it could be one of the more interesting entries that AMD's had in the Chromebook space. Now, I don't want to discount the 5000 series because we haven't gotten them yet, so I haven't gotten time to use them and stuff, but I just feel like it's going to be similar to using a nice Intel-based device, like nice and fast. And
that's the thing is, I'm kind of surprised that the market hasn't shifted that way already, because you look at your main flagship devices that you go to Best Buy and buy, not your premium enterprise devices, your main ones. They're i3s and i5s.
Yeah.
8 gigs of RAM. They're more power. Let's be honest, they're more power than your average consumer needs.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that we haven't seen a shift to more premium built devices with like a Pentium Gold in it, because you can get like an HP 14 with a Pentium Gold, and it has some of the bells and whistles, but I'm like, most people want all the nice stuff, but they don't need a Core i5 with all that RAM and all that stuff.
It feels almost like like a sports car problem. So like, if I wanted a Corvette C8, I love the body, I love the way the thing looks, I want all the features, I want all that stuff, but I don't need to go fast. Don't really care. So just put a good old little V6 in it or something.
Well, that's how kit cars became a thing.
Right.
I was out in LaRue County the other day, and there was a guy driving a Shelby Cobra. And as I got up closer to him, I mean, it was cherry. It was nice. But as I got closer, I could tell it was one of those that had like a Honda CRX engine in it. Right. It's like, cool. Hey, good on you, bro. Good on you.
And so, like, I remember being younger and thinking, like, why can't we do that? Why can't we have it? I like the outer parts of that car. I don't care to have that big old motor and all the gas guzzling and stuff. But part of like the outer part of the car almost needs to match the internal part. Right, like you have to, it's expected almost.
Those are performance pieces for a performance engine,
and it's unfortunate because I agree. I think it'd be awesome, but I guess maybe the Spin 513 is a closer version of that.
Yeah,
like, I mean it basically is the 713,
and that's the thing. ARM's doing it better than Intel ever has. Oh yeah, honestly. So
and honestly, a lot of these Chromebook makers could probably get away with saying, okay, we're going to make this Chromebook and we're going to make sure that there's the motherboards in place to do this, but they don't even have to change the motherboards, because if they stick with the Pentium
Gold, it's the same thing.
It's a core, technically a core processor, so the pin should be the same. Offer them with Pentium Gold options and drop the price drastically. Like, If the option's there to upgrade the internals, I don't think that's a problem.
Because HP and Lenovo have done that with like the Flex 5 and the HP 14. The problem is they price themselves out of competition, because like the Pentium Gold version with 4 gigs of RAM is like $50 less than the i3 with 8. Why would you buy that?
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
so it's been interesting with Intel. So maybe this AMD thing comes in and shakes things up. I mean, clearly the ARM chips are doing that. Like the Chromebook that's up there, the 513, is a perfect example of this. It's this lightweight, thin, ARM-powered device that's quiet. It's very performant, and still's getting that 10 hours of battery life, and it kind of does all the stuff you want a Chromebook to do. Like, I just really, really, really like that device a lot. And, that's not to take anything away from something like the HP, but I'm like, it's, $1,150 to start MSRP. And we've got the 714 on the way too, and so that's Acer's more premium. It's a Core
i. Is the 1100, is that for what, i3?
i3 8128.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, ugh.
Because it's got all the other bells and whistles that jack the price up.
Yeah, but that 714 has most of it, and almost all more power, more storage.
Fingerprint scanner? I can't remember now.
Nope.
Yeah. whatever.
Acer did away with
Smart-
that.
yeah, I think they've
2
just
iterations
stopped.
ago, and that's fine.
Doesn't
Like,
have a haptic trackpad.
Once all the smart unlock comes,
It has
dude,
a garage rechargeable
as good
stylus,
as Acer's trackpads have been in the last handful of their devices,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Doesn't
about a
matter,
haptic
yeah.
trackpad.
One thing I noticed on the Best Buy listing, though, it doesn't say 400. I think it says 320 or 340 nits, which there's nothing wrong with that, but we're kind of used to 400 on the Acer.
Well, they market the 513 as a 360 nit.
and you got 4 out
It's
of
4.
it. Yeah,
I got over 4. I don't know.
whatever.
Strange.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, measuring screen brightness is super weird. It's like measuring light when you're talking about lumens and a camera and stuff. Like, where you're measuring it, how you're measuring it, and what volume. And, like, it's not as simple as even holding the thing up to the screen is like, well, that gives you an idea. There's probably some super precise stuff that where I'm getting 400 something. Under this condition, it technically is only 360.
Right.
But man, that Acer though,
It's
if
bright.
you haven't checked it out, go click the link in the article. They have a top down shot of it on the Best Buy landing page, and it's that darker blue color because
Yeah.
it comes in 2 colors. This one's the blue. Is it slate blue or?
I don't remember what the color was.
Top down shot, man. It looks with the backlit keyboard. It looks.
Well, it's funny.
dope.
Like, Gabe found the 714 listing at Best Buy and sent it over, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I couldn't remember. There's been quite a few new
I
devices.
went back and checked. It was
August.
Yeah.
I watched the video, and I was sitting there. Acer told us, it's August availability. So I was like, I thought it was off a little bit before it was supposed to come out. And so here it is, and we've talked to our rep, and they just got them in today for review. So we'll be getting ours here shortly.
What's
so I
the,
went back
what's
and
the
watched
retail price?
$729.
Yeah.
And so it's Core i5.
So you get the
12th gen.
GPU.
Yeah, so you're getting that Iris GPU, which is super important.
Because you can't Steam game on the i3
Yeah.
yet. You might
Even though
be able to.
HP's website says that their i3 has the Iris Xe graphics.
False.
It's not true. It's definitely not true. But i5, 8, and then 256 NVMe.
Yep.
You got this nice bright 16 by 10, 14-inch screen, backlit keyboard, their awesome trackpad, aluminum build, basically just like the 713, garaged USI stylus.
Did they put the speakers up top on that one?
Yeah,
Yep.
and I remember in my review, I was like, I don't want to say, because I had to go back and watch, because I kind of forgotten, because it was in May
Yeah.
when we got it, and I went back and watched, and I'm like, ooh, I'm actually re-excited for this device again.
Hey everyone, one last thing before you all head out. We appreciate you all watching the Chromecast on YouTube. This is something we've started doing here recently, and we really enjoy doing it. One thing you can do to help us out a lot is go down there and click the subscribe button. If you do it, it's going to make Andy Cam really happy, and when we hit 10,000 subscribers, we're going to give away a Chromebook. So make sure to go down there and click subscribe before you head out.